What up, everyone? Welcome to the very first episode of the Equal Value Podcast. My name is Lisa, and I'm the founder of a nonprofit organization called Black, Brown, and Diverse Plant-Based. From my perspective, as a plant-based person coming from a position of equity for everyone. So basically, that means that I just want to let you know that even though everyone might not be exactly the same, you all have equal value. Um, so for this first episode, I wanted to talk about something that I hear often. I don't know if everyone listening has ever heard of the radio show called The Breakfast Club, but I listen to them on YouTube every now and then, and they seem to have, like a lot of criticism for Democrats and Joe Biden. And so it's something that I notice, and it's not really that I have beef or smoke with the Breakfast Club, but it's that I think that they have to be careful with the platform that they have now, especially that they're now on BET as well. That just started this week, I think, something like the 17th or something. But I think they have to be careful with criticizing Democrats too much because, people are listening and they might get the wrong idea, which in my opinion is that Democrats may not be perfect. They mention a lot of the time that there are big ticket items that Democrats didn't get passed, like the Voting Rights Act or the George Floyd Policing Act. But you definitely want to have, in my opinion, Republicans in office rather than Democrats. And there are a few reasons for this. Number one, first of all, let me just say before I get into that, my apologies, but before I get into that, the Breakfast Club and people with these large platforms and people who, I'll just say that are celebrities, people with money, a lot of wealth, privilege, and overabundance of it, I think, in my opinion, are out of touch with reality. That's why I say that I don't really have beef with them, but I think that because I don't think that's their fault necessarily. You know what I mean? I think it's just that they're just out of touch with the reality of the so-called average person's everyday lives. So, in saying that, let me get back to where I was. So there are a couple of reasons for that you would want to have Democrats in office, in my opinion, rather than Republicans. Because, first of all, if you think back to former President Donald Trump's administration, there was a guy in office who was the Speaker of the House named Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan's mission in life was to stop and cut what he called entitlement programs. They still talk about this as Republicans to this day. What are entitlement programs? They are what they call or consider to be entitlement programs. They are the programs called Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, Social Security, and on and on. The programs that help people in this country, which some might call social programs, whatever you want to call them, that you might need to help you, make ends meet or get through your everyday life because you don't have that overabundance of privilege and wealth like everyone else. So that means, your health care. That means your SNAP, EBT benefits. And SNAP does not just help people buy food. SNAP provides food for kids in schools, which might be, some of the only meals some kids get per day. So you have to be very careful because even though things with those big ticket items, like I mentioned before, like voting rights, George Floyd Policing Act, which we all want, we might not have yet, and they might not have come through with those. You want to be sure to realize that the things that we do have are because Democrats and more liberal people are in office, not conservatives. Republicans want to take those things away from you. For instance, you just heard Mike Pence recently, he's probably going to run for president, talking about the fact that he says Social Security is on the table. President Biden mentioned this at his State of the Union address. He said they want to cut Social Security. They said that's not true. It is true. When Mike Pence says that's on the table, that's what he means. So say, for instance, when he said it's on the table, he might mean that, putting off the age from when you can receive Social Security. So think about the fact that right now, Americans who pay into this system, they use the taxes that they take out of your check every week or whenever you get paid to pay for to put into Social Security and pay for everything that this country pays for. Um, so, and that is also another reason why, you pay for the things you receive. Whether you receive SNAP, EBT, you may need to get unemployment, whatever you're going through in your life. It's not as though it's something that's being given to you for free. You pay for it. They use your taxes to pay for these programs. So that's your money, first of all. Second of all, okay, so for my example, say there's a person, so you start receiving Social Security benefits at the age of 62 right now. So when Mike Pence says that's on the table to change some of these things about Social Security, so say he pushes back the age, which I've heard they want to do, to 72. Think about a person who might be 60, 61, working at McDonald's or something like that, thinking, well, if I can just hang on until I'm 62, well, maybe I can go down to part-time. Maybe I can retire. Maybe I can have some extra help with my income because you get back the money that you pay into the system for Social Security when you reach the age of 62 right now. So say Mike Pence wants to push that back to the age of 72. Now imagine going into that same McDonald's and seeing someone working in there who's 70, 71, saying, well, maybe if I can just hang on to 72, maybe I can, retire. Maybe I can, take time off, go down to part-time. I mean, is that what we want or is it not what we want? Because to me, that's ridiculous. So Republicans, if they are in office, these are the things they're going to do. They try to take away health care, try to take away Obamacare. John McCain, the only last sane Republican that I've seen, in my opinion, before he passed away, stopped them from doing that. And they didn't have anything to replace it. So you have to realize that you want to look out for your own best interests. So when we're saying things about Democrats not necessarily doing all the things we want, some of those big ticket items, which are largely stopped by Republicans, by the way, but whatever your opinion on that may be, you have to realize that things will be much worse if they are in office and if they're allowed to take these things away from you. Not to mention, this is the second reason why we want to be careful about criticizing Democrats too much and allowing the wrong people or party, in my mind, Republicans, and especially Donald Trump specifically, to get back into office. Because the second reason is there's a lot going on in the world right now, and it's a global issue that even supersedes what's going on in this country. So we all know there's the war in Ukraine, Russia, blah, blah, blah. China, according to our CIA, which I saw in the program, I think it was 60 Minutes, anyone can Google this. China right now wants to do the same thing to Taiwan and has instructed its military to be ready by 2027 to go in and take over Taiwan. Now, why does Taiwan want to do this? Well, according to 60 Minutes, another program I saw, that, and I just get my information, from news like everyone else. I'm no expert, but I do have common sense. So China, according to 60 Minutes, wants to, okay, let me just set this up a little bit visually. So say you're standing on like a beach, and this is China. You look out into the ocean, and there's like an island out there directly ahead of you. That would be Taiwan. Taiwan is an island. So to the left, there are a couple other countries there, another landmass. That would be South Korea. You got North Korea right there, and Japan. On the opposite side of this island that you're looking out at, past the island on the other side, is Guam, which is a U.S. territory. Now remember, Taiwan is an island, so all this water around Taiwan, it's all waterways. So according to 60 Minutes, what China would want to do is control the commerce that goes in and out of those waterways. And they need Taiwan to do that because of the way that it's set up that I just described to you. See, China's goal is to become an economic superpower rather than just some sort of, political crazy man, power that, Putin is, going on some kind of rampage with or whatever. But so China wants to control the global economy, basically. And right now, according to 60 Minutes, China's Navy is the largest in the world. It is bigger than ours. And like I said, this is all about waterways, and they said to be ready for this by 2027. Now, and this is something I've been seeing all around. You can look this up on Google. I saw an article in Newsweek that just talked about how horrible the United States Navy is. It's been neglected. They haven't been keeping it up. And like I said, we have way fewer ships than China. We have some submarines. China and Russia know where they're located. So in terms of waterways and the Navy, the U.S. Navy, I don't think it's where it's supposed to be from what I've seen online. You can look that research up yourself. But so what this means in terms of Democrats and Republicans. Say you get someone like Donald Trump in the White House again, or a Republican, hopefully not Donald Trump, but Donald Trump specifically. He doesn't really understand these foreign policy issues. When he went to China and the president there put on some sort of show and parade for him, he thought, oh, they love me. China does not give a you know what about that or President Trump. Like I said, they want to be an economic superpower, and whatever they can do to distract someone as out of the know as Donald Trump doesn't even know what he's doing, then fine, keep him busy with the parade while we're over here getting ready to take ish over. So unless we all want to be walking around speaking Russian and Chinese, we need to realize that we have to have the right people in office, in place, to know what we're doing. Right now, in response to this, President Biden has already said, I heard an expert speaking saying that he has already declared war on China. He has said blatantly, if China attacks Taiwan, we will defend Taiwan. Now, the U.S. is a member of NATO. What does that mean? We have allies. If you attack one, you attack all. So that means we will basically be going to war. And when it comes to money, the U.S. ain't going to sit down for that. So now we have to realize that we have to have the right person in place, like I'm saying. So we may not be paying attention to everything that's going on comprehensively all together, but there's a lot going on and a lot more than just, okay, we wanted the George Floyd Policing Act passed, we wanted the Voting Rights Act passed, and I do agree with these things, and I do agree that we need to have these things passed, but we also need to realize that there's a bigger picture. We need to think about what's going on in our pockets as everyday individuals out here, and some people may not realize that or be in touch with that reality, like I was saying. And then we have all these global aspects going on, which isn't even the least of it, and I'll touch on one more thing before I end this first episode, but it's just something that I wanted to address because I hear it, every so often. And, not only just a Breakfast Club, but sometimes other people occasionally say things like this. But we need to realize that, like I was saying, I'll say it again, if Republicans are in office, then things will be much worse. And if you want to say you're independent, like some people do, they want to say, oh, I'm not on any side. That's fine, but an independent is not going to be the president, basically. This is a two-party system in this country. And so there will only ever be a Democrat or Republican who is ever going to be president, and you're going to have to choose sides, and you're going to have to do what's in your best interest if and when you decide to vote. And you probably want to if you want to protect these things that I'm talking about. So one last thing before we go. And one thing I will say, though, before I get to the last issue is that I do agree with, Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy, and all the people who speak on the Breakfast Club that say certain things like the Democrats have poor messaging. And that just is something that is a fact for, most politicians, Democrats, especially across the board. And the reason I say that is because I did not learn any of this stuff that I'm telling you from Democrats. I learned it from news, that YouTube things I want to see, that they pop up on them. They pop up after it's on autoplay or whatever. But I listen because I personally am interested in what's going on in this world, and I don't wait for anybody to tell me anything. I'm going to find out for myself. And I would advise everyone to do the same. I am the type of person, I always say I don't take anything to be true that anyone tells me from anyone and from any side, from a Democrat or Republican, until it is proven not to be false. So I go out there and find out stuff for myself, and I think everyone else should do the same. This is the last thing I will mention, um, which is another thing that popped up for me on YouTube, but it was something that I was interested in once I started to hear it. There's a professor at the University of Arizona, I believe. He looked like he was about 1,000 years old, but he seemed to have just as much knowledge. And he gave a speech about the two most pressing issues that are going to affect the world in the future. What are they? Number one, he said the threat of nuclear war. Number two, he said climate change. He said if you do not address these two issues, then nothing else is going to matter. So um, his name is Noam, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Noam Chomsky. Noamchomsky. Anyone can look this up if they want to. Anyway, so his point about the threat of nuclear war is he said people are talking about this and throwing these words around way too casually. And this is what comes in to play with Russia and China, like I just mentioned. He said that if any country were to detonate a nuclear weapon, it would destroy that country. And it would not only destroy that country because other countries would come attack it, but because detonating the nuclear weapon itself would destroy the country. So this is what you're dealing with when you're talking about nuclear war. So you do not want someone in office who's going to take this war in Ukraine lightly and who's friends with Russia like Donald Trump, or who's not going to take war with China seriously, because it would just basically be the end of everything, and everything else would be a non-factor anyway. So, but aside from that, the second thing he mentioned is climate change. Now, he said we have about 2 to 3 years before this is going to be irreversible. We all see the weather and how everything's, so messed up lately and so strange here, and cold, we're supposed to be hot, we're supposed to be cold. He said it's going to be gradual. Sea levels are going to rise. It's going to get warmer in places where they're digging for oil and fossil fuels like the Middle East. People are going to have to start migrating. They're going to have to move. They're going to have to leave the places they are. So it's not something that's going to happen right away, but, eventually we think we have a problem with immigration now. Watch what else ends up on your doorstep when people have to start leaving where they are. So the thing with climate change is that, the next thing I was going to say, I lost my train of thought for a second, but so you hear all these things. So I hear all this stuff popping up on YouTube, blah, 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 blah. And then I see on a news report, and it's just a mention, a couple seconds. They say, snow caps are melting in Antarctica. They mention it, how, this is so unusual, the effect of climate change, blah, 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 on to the next thing. Okay, now think about what this man just said. And we're not even thinking about any of this stuff. And we have so much other stuff going on, with abuse by police, gun control problems, people getting killed. But like I was saying, if we do not address these issues, like this man said, none of that's going to matter, because we're not going to be here. We ain't going to be having no homes that have to be policed, no places where people can live, where we will even have lives that need to be protected, because these other things are going to supersede all of that. So anyway, so that's why when I hear these things sometimes, I think about, you might have these issues with Democrats, but we also want to always remember that things would be worse for the Republicans, but we want to make sure people know that. And sometimes I even think about, like I said, the Breakfast Club is a radio show. If maybe I will call in, but you have to get up, dumb early in the morning to do that, and I ain't doing all that. So, but now, since I decided to start this podcast, just to give people information that they need, I decided that this would be something that I would address, since it's something I hear occasionally, and I feel like it's something that people need to realize, all people, because you're getting information sometimes, but you're not getting all the information because of who you're getting it from. Like I said, some people are out of touch with reality. It's not always only their fault, but I'm just saying you need to get a full picture, and you can, go out there and find all this information for yourself. So once again, my name is Lisa, and I started an organization called Black, Proud, and Diverse Plant-Based People for Equity. So I do come from a plant-based perspective, and I come from a position of equity, which means there should be equal value for all. Because the solution, in my opinion, to solving inequality is not begging others to see you as equal. That makes no sense on earth. The solution to solving inequality is reminding others that they are not more than equal. So remember that. Check out my nonprofit at equalvalueforall.wordpress.com. We've had to stop programming currently because of a lack of funding. So anywhere you see a donate button, you can click on that and donate whatever you can to us. And that goes directly into free grocery items for the community and health and wellness information. So we're looking forward to continuing on with you. I started that nonprofit, and this podcast is basically an extension of that. So you'll be able to get, any information that I or any others that I'm speaking with have to give to you, so that you will be able to have equal knowledge and informed opinions about what's going on in the world and all the information that everyone else has. In addition to that, I just want to put out there that anyone who's interested with the platform and helping us out with that nonprofit, again, you can contact us by going to that website, equalvalueforall.wordpress.com, and there will also be a fundraiser attached to this first episode on YouTube, and you should be sure to like, share, and subscribe, because if you subscribe, you'll be able to know every time we post a new episode. With that said, I'm just going to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Don't hate, participate. We all work together, and we can go as far as we can in this world and take everyone with us. In addition to that, if you create content out there, I have this issue right now where I was hearing something and I wanted to respond to it. Everyone should do that. Turn your phone on, videotape yourself, say what you want to say. And there are people who are already doing that. Create any content you want in any way that you want, whether it be music, fashion, acting, or whatever. If you want to do those types of things, getting into some of that other stuff could be topics for another episode. But anyway, anyone who wants to do that sort of thing should have the opportunity to do it. Not only a few special people, because either we're all special or none of us are. So the key to also solving that issue is to, when you're putting your content out there, use the hashtag I'm starting right now called madebyustoo. That hashtag will be attached to this first episode of this podcast. And if we all begin to use that if we all begin to use that hashtag madebyustoo, because we make stuff too. If we use that and pay attention to that content and bring our attention there, you redirect your attention, you will redirect the wealth. The people that already have podcasts out here and 7,000 companies and businesses want to sell you this or that, they already have enough. So it's time for the rest of us to be included in the conversation. So use the hashtag madebyustoo, look for that hashtag, and consume content with that hashtag. Like I said, you redirect your attention to that content with the hashtag madebyustoo, and you will redirect the wealth that everyone else has to all the rest of us. Aside from that, I just wanted to leave you with that little bit of information and let everyone know that there's more to come, definitely. So make sure that you like, share, and subscribe so that you'll be able to know when every episode is released. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day. And like I said, this is something I want everyone to remember all the time. You have equal value. The key to solving inequality is not begging someone to see you as equal. That makes no sense at all. The key to solving inequality is reminding others that they are not more than equal. Thank you. Thank you for listening.